So the same question I want to ask you. So the person you're sitting next to, I would like you to ask them, who is their superhero and why? So if you guys want to do it, meanwhile I'm sitting up here talking some nonsense. Meanwhile, you guys want to discuss who's your superhero, favorite superhero and why? 10 more seconds. Alright guys, anyone who wants to speak up and say their superhero, who is their favorite superhero and why, just raise your hands, I'll try to find you. Go ahead. Oh, there you go, that's the one that we're looking for. Alistair.
Superman.
Superman. Alright, sounds good. Anyone else?
Wolverine.
Wolverine, that's a great one. Anyone else?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, there you go, another one. So great superheroes, go ahead.
My husband.
Oh, that's a great one, that's a great one. Can I get an applause for that? Can I get an applause? There you go, that's a great one. Alright, so I'm going to steal yours. I'm going to say Jesus as well today. Not just today, but making sure that I don't steal his. Jesus is my favorite superhero, and I would like to give a warm welcome to the worship team to give us great songs.
Yes. Everyone, especially the ones on the really comfortable sofas, stand up. The first song is about that superhero that came from that corner over there. My Jesus, my Savior. You know how each superhero has their own theme, the tune. Right? You kind of, it comes before you can even see the superhero. Well, I wonder what the theme is for Jesus for you. What kind of a melody you hear in your head, or what is the link to him. But I suspect that for several people, the next song might be one of those.
I want
is to always speak about something that you know very well. Never speak about a topic that you have no idea of. And today my plan is to break this first rule of public speaking and talk about something I have no idea about, and that is superheroes. Believe me, I have absolutely no idea about superheroes. Seriously, when I was growing up, we kids used to have these friendship books where you would ask all your friends to write in, and there would be questions like, what's your favorite color, or what kind of food do you like, or what kind of music do you listen to? You know these kind of books? Yeah? So one of those questions in these books was always like, who do you admire? Or who is your superhero? And I would write there stuff like, my big brother, my mom, because I did not know any other superheroes. They were my superheroes, so this is the level we're working with here. Yeah. But I'm lucky enough to be married to my husband, Mike. Yeah, and he really saved me regarding this topic, because he knows everything there is to know about superheroes. Believe me, this is his domain, this is his expertise. I mean, I wasn't allowed to marry him before I had watched stuff like Star Wars and Star Trek and all kinds of other sci-fi stuff. And of course, I have heard all there is to know about Marvels and the DC world and whatnot, because I mean, if you just look at Mike, you learn something new about superheroes just by looking at him, because half of his t-shirts, and I'm not lying, seriously, half of his t-shirts have some kind of image of Marvels or other superheroes or Star Wars or something like that. So I am forced to learn something about this stuff just by washing his laundry, putting his t-shirts into the laundry machine or the dryer, and I've already learned what the Marvels are. Awesome, thank you, Mike. So, I have learned that there's something that all superheroes share, something that they all have in common. Maybe there are many other similarities as well, what do I know? But this one thing I thought was especially interesting, because I found out that all superheroes, they want to save the world, right? That's the job description, that's their mission, and of course I knew that already. But the way in which they do it, I didn't know. So I found out that all superheroes that save the world do it in an exceptional way. Let's look at some examples. Captain America. He is being told that he should not get himself involved into the problem that is happening around him. He should leave it for those people that are there to solve that kind of stuff. But Captain America, he does not do what he is told to. He just goes and rescues his best friend because he knows he can do it, and only he can do it. Or what about Spider-Man? He's being hunted by the police because he's a vigilant, but then when the situation arises where only he can save the city, he does it anyway. Who cares what the police is saying? Because it's way more important for him to save the city. That is his priority. Or how about Iron Man? He is not allowed to get involved. The government has forbidden him to do that. But when he finds out what's happening around him, he goes anywhere and does exactly what he should not do and gets involved. Because that's the only way to save the mankind. None of the superheroes did what they were supposed to do. None of them followed the rules. None of them saw an emergency somewhere and said just like, oh well, I'll just call the police and they should come and solve this situation. None. All of them had an exceptional way of solving the situation. None of them follows what they are told to do, because for each of them it is way more important to save the people. The friends or the city or the whole world, that is their priority, regardless what someone else has to say about it. The superheroes, or the heroes in the Bible, I know them a little bit better than the Marvels and DC and such. And if you think of the superhero and the Bible combined, then you can just think of one person, right? That is, of course, Samson. Samson is so strong that he can rip a young lion into 2 pieces with his bare hands. He kills 30 men just like that, alone, because he's pissed. 30 men. And after that, 1,000 men with a bone. I mean, it's crazy. No one is as strong as he. He carries the doors of a city wall on his shoulders just to make a point. He leans himself on 2 poles and a whole house is breaking apart. Amazing. He's definitely the strongest man in the world. I think you could call him a superhero. I mean, if you can define a superhero with him being ready to break the rules, then Samson fits very well into the picture of a superhero, I think. Because he does everything else except that what he's supposed to do. You know the story. He eats honey from a carcass of a lion, even though he has a Nazarite. He shouldn't be eating anything unclean, and dead animals are very, very much unclean. After that, he should have cleansed himself, purified himself, according to the Israelite laws at that time, but he doesn't do it. And he has sex with a prostitute. And of course, he allows things to evolve so that his hair is being cut, even though he, as a Nazarite, should never cut his hair. Samson does everything he wants to do. He doesn't seem to care what the law is saying. He doesn't care. And of course, fitting to that image, the first thing that we read about him after he has been born is that he is all grown up now, and he sees an especially beautiful Philistine woman and wants to marry her. No, that's not allowed. That's repeatedly forbidden. Deuteronomy chapter 7, do not intermarry with them, giving your daughters to their sons or taking their daughters for your sons. Strictly forbidden. And there's a good enough reason for it too, for that would turn away your children from following me to serve other gods. So, what does Samson do? He sees this Philistine woman, goes to his parents, and says, I want to marry her. What? Yeah, doesn't he know that is forbidden? Doesn't he care? So his parents react, just like parents react. They say, well, haven't you seen any girls around here? Can't you choose yourself a wife from our people? Hello, it's forbidden. But Samson insists, I want to marry this woman. Everything else, I don't care. And so it happens. So, yeah, in that sense, Samson fits very well into the picture of a superhero. He breaks all the rules he can. Just the only difference is really his motivation in doing that. The superheroes in Marvels or DC and stuff are doing that in order to save the world or their friends. That's their motivation, right? That's their priority. But Samson, well, he just does what he feels like doing. No additional reasons needed. He sees a woman and he wants to have her. His motivation is Samson wants it. Samson can take it. Samson just does it because he feels like it. His motivation is his own need. World peace, who cares? Samson wants it. That's what matters. In his defense, I have to say, in this context, he isn't very much different than the other people around him. I mean, everybody in Israel does what they want. That's what the whole book of Judges is about. The book of Judges where the story of Samson also is written. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And Samson is no exception. He's not the only Israelite that married a non-Israelite. In chapter 3 in Judges, that happened already with all the Israelites. And now the story of Samson is in chapter 14 already. So everyone almost has a non-Israelite wife. That's the present situation when Samson is being born. Israel is under the Philistine rulership. No wonder. The whole nation is doing what they want. They don't care for God's law. And so they are 40 years under the Philistine ruling. And let me tell you, that's not a good place to be for the Israelites. You know, the Israelites, they should be the ones who belong to God. They should be faithful to God. But they are not. And instead, they have intermarried in all the surrounding nations, and the different foreign gods are already spreading around the Israelites and taking the place of God. They are 40 years under the Philistine ruling, I mean, they have themselves become almost Philistines. In 40 years, many things can happen. New children are being born who identify themselves more as Philistines than Israelites. And what's going to happen with God's plan then? I mean, the Messiah is supposed to come out of the Israelites, the Messiah who's supposed to save the world. But the Israelites don't seem to care. They live under the Philistine rulership, marrying to the Philistine families, are almost turning into being Philistine themselves, mentally, genetically, through the parents and the children and so on. I mean, what's supposed to come out of this all? What can still come out of this? And then we have the hero who's supposed to save the situation, and what does he do? Exactly that, what everyone else is doing as well. He does what he feels like doing. His needs are his motivation. No, my word, they're done. The whole nation, they're lost. And then we come to chapter 14 and verse 4. Samson has just informed his parents that he wants to marry a Philistine, and the parents argued against it, of course, as they should. And then comes verse 4. And verse 4 is incredible. I'm reading from my own translation because it's hard to express this outside of the Hebrew. First, Samson says in verse 3, "Get her for me because she pleases me." And then verse 4, "His father and mother did not know that she was from the Lord, and that he had chosen her from the Philistines for a reason." At that time, the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Did you notice? She was from the Lord. She, the girl, the Philistine girl, was from the Lord. God had chosen her for this exact situation. That Samson marries her is exactly God's plan. Do you see what that means? The rule that God himself gave earlier to the Israelites on multiple occasions, he is breaking now this rule that he made as he planned Samson to marry a Philistine. And Samson goes along, he has no idea that he's actually living out God's plan. He thinks it's his own will, but no, actually it's all just part of God's plan. God had planned it to happen. God had chosen her against the rule that he himself had given to the Israelites. But why? Why would God do something like that? Why does God break his own rule and finds a Philistine woman to be Samson's wife? Why? That's crazy. I don't know how many of you guys know my story. I've grown up as an Adventist. My mom was and is an Adventist. I went to the Adventist school in Finland and I was a good student. You can ask Ida, she was in my class. I was a good student myself. I got good grades. I did everything I was supposed to. I was nice, I behaved well. Until I was something like 11, 12 years old, and I started to think that this is embarrassing. Who would want to do everything always right? Why should I do always everything right? I wanted to have friends, I wanted to have fun, I wanted an exciting life. I wanted somewhere to belong. So I started drinking when I was 11 and smoking. All my friends were older than me, and I just wanted to belong, be part of the group. So I went along. Parties, being drunk, totally crazy, many years focused just on that stuff. My school went completely in the wrong direction because I never studied. I was just interested in other things. Then I swapped schools when I was 14, and in the new school I got friends. And then it didn't take very long to start with marijuana, amphetamine, and so on. At first I thought I would never do something like that. I mean, I learned already as a kid not to do that. But after half a year or so, I was already trying it out. Then I had a boyfriend who had been using for years already, and so I sank very fast into the lifestyle of drugs, violence, criminality. School you can forget about. I was just high every day. That's all I saw and all I wanted. Until one day, my boyfriend had broken up with me, kind of with the words, save yourself while you still can. But I didn't want to do that. And so it all went further until I started to get a weird feeling. I was high, but it didn't feel good anymore. It started to feel uncomfortable. I got scared and had like feelings of panic that I would die or go crazy when I had smoked weed. No one of my friends took it seriously if I talked about it. I mean, in that kind of circles, you don't say stuff like that out loud. Because being high is the best thing, you know, relax, hey, don't be like that. But what I experienced was real. It was such a weird time. Once I even went with my mom to church, no idea why. And I remember sitting there and they were singing a song. I think it was As the Deer Pants for the Water, you know that song. And suddenly, I just started to cry. No idea why. Just like that, I had to go outside of the room because I couldn't stop crying. And that's weird, I thought. And I can remember being totally high and wasted one evening, and this feeling of panic came again, and I couldn't fall asleep. And I just said shortly in my thoughts, I wouldn't call it a prayer or anything like that, really, just a thought. God, if you're there, help me. I'm tired. I can't take this anymore. And then I fell asleep and forgot about the whole thing. A couple of weeks after that, I thought I would like to start to go back to school again. And I tried not to take anything, no drugs, in 2 weeks. And I sat in my room and I tried to study for an exam so that they let me continue in school. And suddenly, out of nowhere, came these feelings of fear and panic. Just like before, now the only difference, I hadn't smoked anything. I hadn't smoked any weed or anything. And I thought, I'm going to die, I'm going crazy. I'm going to die right here and now. And that feeling was so strong that I couldn't do anything. I was so insanely scared that I just went to my mom and I told her everything about my life, what is happening and what has happened, and that I think I'm going to die. But the panic attack didn't go away. It stayed on me, and it didn't help to breathe in a paper bag or whatever it is that you do. Nothing helped. I had these crazy hallucinations that my body is moving in different directions and I'm just moving through the furniture, and I was just insanely scared. Day and night, 24/7, and it just didn't go away. The panic just came in waves and it was there. I couldn't even go alone to the toilet because I was so scared. I was 16 years old and my mom stayed with me at home to take care of me because I couldn't be alone for one moment. My life was just panic and fear. I have basically no other memories from that first year, just panic and fear. Or actually I do. There were short moments, maybe twice or 3 times per day. If I would listen to Christian music or pray, I had 2 or 3 minutes of peace, a pause. And these moments, they were like an oasis in the desert for me. These moments were the reason I continued to live. If I hadn't had those moments, I would have ended my own life myself. These moments kept me living. God came close to me in these moments of peace. And that's how God came into my life. Through different things, I finally grew out of the fears and the panic attacks, but it took me years. I always say that it took me exactly as long as was necessary so that I wouldn't fall back into the old life again, but that I was definitely out of it. And so I am out of it, also today. And sometimes I've thought that God was actually forcing me, you know? That he didn't really leave me a choice, that he led me to a closed end so that I couldn't do anything else but turn back and to come back to him. Because only with him I had peace, only with him there was life. And of course I had a choice, the choice between fear or safety, panic or peace, the choice between life and death. I had that choice, but it was God who chose me. He didn't lead me to the difficulties where I was. I had done that well enough through my own decisions, But he used these difficulties to change my life, because that's what God is like. That's what God is like. And that's exactly what he does with the Israelites as well. The Israelites had made wrong decisions. They broke the law. The law would have protected them, you know. The law would have been a way into living a happy life with God. But they made wrong decisions, one after another. They didn't want to change the situation. They were 40 years under the Philistine ruling and nobody did anything. They were on their way to destruction. So God has to do something. He has to act. And so he does exactly the same with the Israelites that he did with me as well. He takes the situation where they are and uses that to change their lives. To save the whole nation, to save the whole mankind. Because if he wouldn't do it now, then the whole nation would get lost within the Philistines. And where would the Messiah come from then? Where would the Savior for the whole world come from? The whole world would be lost. We all would be lost. So God does this. It's not ideal, but it's the way to turn them around. And so God uses Samson and his eyes and his needs to annoy the Philistines. Because the Israelites, they don't do anything. They just sheepishly follow the Philistines and don't even try to fight back. And so God brings the events to the point through this wife of Samson, so that it is the Philistines who take action, and they start fighting against Samson, and the Philistines lose, and the Israelites at the end get out of the whole thing because God has let it to be so. Otherwise, the Israelites would have done nothing. God leads them to a dead end so that they only have one direction to go to. God provokes the Philistines so that it comes to the situation where the Israelites get free through Samson. So that after that, there is still a nation called the Israelites. So that after this story, we would read about Ruth. So that through that line, we have King David. So that through his family line, some years later, finally, the Messiah will be born. And we, you and I, are saved through him. How he does this, even if it means acting against the rules that he himself had given to the Israelites, that isn't important to God. What is important to God? The human, the mankind. His priority is to save the mankind, regardless how. The human is important to him. You and I, we are his priority. What do you think? Who is the real superhero in this story? It's not Samson. Regardless how strong and mighty he was, he is not the superhero. He made choices for his own needs, for himself only. Okay, at the end he does this one heroic act, and that's important. But the real superhero in this story is God. His motivation is to save the mankind. That is his priority. And he uses everything he can to make that possible. Everything he can. Even if it means breaking his own rules. It's not about Samson. It's about God. Because that's what he is like. In those circumstances where we are in the situation which maybe we ourselves have brought upon ourselves, he acts. We are his priority. Amen.
Amen.
Can you stand? The song is a simple one. In the verses, every now and then, please join Miriam and Angeline whenever the line, "Our God is an awesome God," comes up. And in the choruses, blast it out full on. With the rolls up his sleeves, the edges putting on a rinse.
amazing. You are everything what we need. You are awesome. You are all powerful. There is nothing that can stop you from doing everything you can to save us. We are incredibly grateful that we are your priority. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
If you feel really, really tired, and if you feel like the stuff that you're doing is way too much, then tomorrow's message is definitely for you. Come and be encouraged. You are not alone.
Well, we kind of done, if you didn't realize. So we are at the end of the program. We want to thank you first for coming. It was great to see you. Bring friends, family, whoever you want. Tomorrow it's at 7:30 again. At the title, if I'm not mistaken, is You're Not Alone. So just remember, you guys are not alone. If you need family, friends, they're there. If you need someone more powerful than that, we have our best superhero to help us, which is Jesus. Just a reminder, we have Q&As tomorrow, which means we are still waiting for your questions. The phone number is up there. That's my phone number. Buzz me anytime. Send me questions on message. And if you don't have a UK number, then WhatsApp me as well. We are happy to get your questions. We are happy to find possibly to all of the questions answers, but that we'll see on Wednesday and on Friday. Also, we have refreshments in the back. Enjoy, have fun, talk to people, and hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great night.